Howdy partners, it's so good to be here again. It's been a minute for me. I came back from a lovely road trip from Charlevoix. God, was that gorgeous. And while I was away, I came back to learn that the Pope himself has passed away. May he rest in peace. And I'm also delighted to learn that we are still not at World War III. And God willing, that will never happen. And perhaps you can't notice, but I'm kind of covered in paint over here. The renovations in the basement are coming along. It's almost done. And finally, while I was away, I didn't get to see Sinners on its opening night because I was away on my road trip. But I am delighted to have learned that it was totally smashing it at the box office, which is great news, and it's always exciting to see people getting so riled up about a film. And I think there's a lot of good reasons for that with this one. I think we could all tell from the initial trailer that there was something quite special going on here. And FYI, don't watch the second trailer because I find it spoils pretty much the whole film. Just stick to the first one, it's more than enough. And in case Ryan Coogler, the writer-director of this film, is teaming up yet again with Michael B. Jordan, these two seem to be like BFFs or something. They literally collaborate on each of the films that Ryan Coogler directed, which would be Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and now finally Sinners. And clearly collaborating with Michael B. Jordan doesn't seem to be enough because not only does he show up in this film, but he has a dual protagonist role in this film as the twins Smoke and Stack. So the twins are back from Chicago in their hometown, leaving behind their checkered past. These two are World War I veterans, and they also, once they moved to Chicago, were working for major crime lords. If I recall correctly, they said Capone himself. Yeah, clearly they've kept busy with a lot of shady work in their past. We're not too sure what it is, but they have a reputation and it shows in all their mannerisms right from the start. You can tell that Michael B. Jordan was just having the time of his life in this role over here, and he's perfectly suited for it. In any case, the twins are on a mission over here to start up this new business venture. They want to build this juke joint for the local black community in the Mississippi Delta. A most promising prospect to be certain, especially with the kind of visionary drive and charisma that they bring to the table. Even for all those folks who seem uncertain about joining them on their venture, they get turned around pretty quick. But the film makes no secret from the very start that things are going to take a turn for the worse. It is an interesting 24-hour narrative structure over here that shows at the very beginning the catastrophic ending that is doomed to happen. So yeah, it seems that there's a greater evil waiting for them than the one that they left behind in their very checkered past. As bad enough as that was already. And I gotta say, as fun as the whole vampire thing is, it's actually not my favorite part of the movie. The whole build-up to the horrors of that night is what I found to be most inspiring about the film. The early moments of the film chronicle Smoke and Stack recruiting folks on their new business venture. And I do think it is very interesting to see how the backstories of each of these characters get slowly revealed in some pretty meaningful ways. Either through past acquaintances, family, or in the cases of our duo protagonists over here, the romantic ties that they had to leave behind. And believe me, they're just loaded with energy and dramatic tension that is just ready to pop. I do love how this film explores this deep sense of longing and this intimacy. I can have it stuck in my mind, this one character that says, yeah, your body has not forgotten me. It is hot as hell, and there's also this magical element about it. And I will say, I was not prepared for just how flirty and sexy this film would be. There's quite a lot of dirty talk, and eventually it evolves to people literally going down on each other. Oh my. I just realized now that I still have this fucking toque, and I probably look like an idiot. Much better. I feel like myself again now. Anyways, I think the most revolutionary moment in this film is regarding the music, specifically the blues. It is very much at the core of the DNA of this film. And I do love how the small character developing moments of blues playing led to the night of festivities that made me appreciate that night so much more. And what a night it was. For both good and bad, I guess. And it's not just the music playing and singing that was great, which it most certainly was a major highlight of this film. And FYI, before I forget, Ludwig Göransson is once again collaborating with Ryan Coogler on this film, making the soundtrack. And in fact, much like Michael B. Jordan, Ludwig has collaborated with Ryan Coogler on each of the films he's directed. If I understand correctly, these guys were film school buddies. And I think the same applies for other people that were working on this film, such as the cinematographer, the production designer, and costume designer as well. I do love this little tight-knit squad he's built over here, and it seems to be working wonders because the creative mojo here is just off the charts. But in any case, coming back to the present film at hand, the music in this film taps into something truly magical, euphoric, cosmic, and quite literally transcends time itself through the artistry and power of music. There's one scene in the film that was absolute fire. Oh my god. I know we still have a bit more than half a year left in 2025, but I think I can say with full certainty that this scene in particular is going to be one that will be talked about throughout the whole year, and it will go down in history as one of the most inspiring scenes that cinema in 2025 has provided us. God damn, that was an amazing moment. I will not spoil it further for you. But then, of course, the horror aspects of the film come in later at night, and though it was tastefully done, oops, pun not intended this time, with us talking about vampires over here. But in any case, I do think it is actually one of the weaker aspects of the film. In my humble opinion, as a horror film, I don't think it's all that scary. I think it's plenty entertaining and suspenseful, all that, yes, but in terms of the scare factor, not that much. But once again, take it with a grain of salt because I am a little biased in that regard. I think anyone who's played through the Silent Hill games will have a much thicker skin in that regard. Moving on with another point of criticism, I do think, especially in the last chapters of the film, I think it gets a little predictable and gimmicky. It's perhaps not predictable in the sense that the film tackles a whole bunch of film styles. That is an exciting and novel aspect of the film. But specifically when it comes to the action and the horror parts of it, I do find that it's a little formulaic. And perhaps the part that rubs me the wrong way the most is that I had to suspend my disbelief over here, especially in those final fights, if you will, of the film, because it is frankly miraculous at how effective this little SWAT crew over here was at fighting off this veritable horde of vampires. I hope I'm not spoiling too much over here, but it is kind of hinted at in the trailer, even in the first one. I do feel if there was a more realistic approach to it, they'd have just gotten slaughtered instantly. The only way I can describe it, and forgive me, I guess this is my game developer brain embarking on over here, but it feels like they turned down difficulty all the way to easy mode, if not even story mode. Especially in regards to that final boss fight, if I can categorize it as such. Furthermore, I do think that there are some thematics that are explored better than others, which I guess makes sense for a film that explores so many different genres at the same time. And for the most part, it does a very good job of it. But personally, I do find the thematics of racism to be perhaps a little underdeveloped. I feel like it's more of an aesthetic backdrop rather than having any substantial dramatic moments in the film. Like, yes, there's a little bit of Ku Klux Klan elements over here, but they don't take all that much presence in the foreground of the film. And ultimately, I found them to be a little toothless. God damn it, the puns again. And I guess speaking of the vampires themselves, like, yes, the vampire leader, overlord, if we can call him as such, is a white fella, but for me, it's not so much that he's hunting black people. He's just hunting humans. I don't think color of skin has anything to do with that. In fact, I do find he's surprising this multicultural entity, which I was not expecting and I kind of appreciated. A nice little nuance to the vampire mythos over here. And finally, we do have this brief moments with these Native Americans, which I thought was really interesting, but their narrative arc kind of went nowhere, and I do kind of wish the film explored that a bit more, but it didn't. But once again, I'm nitpicking here, really just bringing out my criticisms here in the spirit of constructive criticism. But otherwise, this was an incredibly enjoyable film, and at times a genuinely inspiring film. And I gotta give it out to Ryan Coogler. Like, he went from being an indie filmmaker to then making a sequel to the Rocky Balboa franchise and frankly knocking out the park. And then he went off to the MCU to not only make a box office mega bomb, but also made one of the critical darlings of the Marvel franchise. And in fact, one might effectively make the argument that this is the best superhero film that came out of the MCU. So it is delightful to see him go for this passion project that is very personal to him and original. Not too often we see that nowadays, so high praises for him in that regard. And furthermore, the film looks great. The whole period piece aspect of the film, from the set design to costumes, is just so on point. And then the gory violence of the vampire carnage itself looks great. And I think my favorite aspect of the vampires is that red glow in their eyes, which is super unsettling. The cinematography was also a major highlight in this film. There are a bunch of shots that are just so gorgeous. So big shout out to the film's cinematographer, Autumn Gerald Archipel. Not too many female cinematographers working in the big leagues on quite such an epic film, and in such fantastic fashion too. I imagine this film could be a historical benchmark to be the stepping stone to have more women come into these kind of roles as well. And then of course, all the performances are very charismatic and lively, especially when it comes to the blues playing, which I do want to give a special shout out to Miles Canton, who gives an absolute breakout performance over here in his first film, if I understand correctly. Definitely a young and talented actor to watch. And yeah, as I mentioned previously, the music in this film is absolutely invigorating. So honestly, I'm rating at least at an 8.5 out of 10. I had a good feeling about this from the start, but I was not disappointed. This was fire. God damn, does this film have mojo. I highly recommend it. So with all that being said, wishing you and your loved ones nothing but the best. Take care and talk to you soon.